Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to another Red Out podcast. I am Jake, half of your dynamic hosting duo. Devin, how are you tonight, man?
I'm doing good. Loving this awful snowman weather we're having. Hoping it clears out and doesn't keep up, but we'll see.
Yeah, right. Kentucky in March. Gotta love it.
You know, the weather outside reminds me of our chances in the tournament.
Yeah, right. Terrible.
Terrible.
Because we're not in it.
No.
So we're recording this on Selection Sunday, so the official NCAA bracket has come out. We are awaiting the NIT bracket because Western is probably a fairly high seed in the NIT, so yay, I guess.
Yeah, like you said, it's disappointing that we didn't make it, and losing to Marshall by 1 point was even worse. But
so bad.
yeah, I was the same way. I was just like, oh. But the guys came a long way this year. They did really well. They dropped a few close ones that they should have won. But for the overall, I would say they did pretty good for the season.
Yeah, like I was telling another friend of mine today who called me to kind of commiserate that this was a building block this season. I told you that earlier. You know, I'm glad that we did as well as we did. However, I think in the whole story of this season that it is disappointing because we were good enough to get in the tournament and we just did not close at the end. We just dropped, like you said, some close games that we had no business losing, Ohio and UTSA, and couldn't close it out against Marshall, even though we literally had the last shot in the basket, and by the grace or damnation of the basketball gods, it flew out. So
yeah, and
we're going to talk about them in another podcast.
Exactly.
As far as going in deep, because we will do a breakdown of the NIT tournament because that's where the men will be playing. We want to say congratulations to the Lady Tops because they spanked North Texas and are Conference USA champions. Not the regular season, but the tournament champions for the second year in a row. They are #Dynasty, as we said the other day on Twitter, and are projected right around a 13 seed, so we'll see. I don't know if their show is on yet or if it's like tomorrow night or like later tonight, but we'll figure out their matchup pretty soon.
And the sad part is with female basketball, it's not that closely followed. But we've been following the girls all year, and they've been phenomenal.
Absolutely.
They were almost as good as volleyball about winning awards every single week. And
yes,
the sad part is they'll probably end up with like a radio show for the selection show, but
I think they do have an actual show. I don't know if it's on like It's kind of like the NIT, right? It's like an ESPN3, ESPNU kind of thing because the viewership isn't huge, especially tonight. I would imagine they wouldn't do it tonight. I don't know why the NIT is doing it tonight. I guess they're figuring, it's Selection Sunday, so let's release ours too. But I don't know. I would probably wait. But
I guess
the Lady Tops are. God, I just hope they make a run because they've kind of got hosed on either seeding or they've always had to play out west. So I'm hoping that they're at the top of their seed line so they can be a little bit closer. Because I'm pretty sure the Yum Center is hosting some of the women's games, which would be really cool.
Oh my gosh, yes.
To play in Louisville.
That would be awesome. I mean, and the close proximity to Bowling Green would allow for more fans to come.
Absolutely.
And it's also a good thing for these young ladies that are playing high school basketball. They can come and watch Western and some of these closer teams that, they're doing well and they're working hard and, just got to keep cheering on the Tops.
Amen. Okay, so do you want to talk a little bit of baseball?
Yeah, just real quick.
The rest of this, because, spoiler alert, the bracket's out, so we're going to talk about that for a hot minute. And baseball, dude, what do you know? It doesn't suck this year.
I know, right? We reverse jinxed them. As the best way to put it. We talked about them on the show. We told them, hey, we're behind you all the way, guys. And then they come out like a madman and won, 4 straight? And then played Kentucky.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like they lost to Northern Iowa in one of the series they played. But then they played Kentucky. And I had to listen to this on KSR, which makes it that much worse. But they're going into the final inning against Kentucky, and they drop a 3-0 lead and lose by 1 point. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Then they dropped.
Not only that, but Kentucky is ranked 7th at that time. I don't know what they're at right now, but they were number 7 in the country, and Western is absolutely punking them up until the 9th.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was just the pitcher wearing out and we're not getting a new pitcher in there. Or maybe it's a maturity issue and just not finishing through. I don't know. Of course, then we played West Virginia, and
Yeah.
I don't know if they trained with pickaxes and coal mines or what they did. But something happened. But guys are doing great. Did you have anything to add?
Well, no, I was just going to say that I think right now the weakness is Western trying to figure out their pitching rotation at the end of games. So you got your starter, you got your leadoff guy, and then you got a closer, right? You got a dude who finishes you out at the end of the game, tries to bring it home. Western kind of is still grasping at straws at the closer position, especially against some of these high-powered offenses of UK and West Virginia. I will say they at least kept it close to West Virginia, losing 5-7 and 9-11. Now, we'll forget what happened on Sunday because it was 1-7. That was bad. But took them to extra innings in the loss that Saturday, the second game. So you hate that you lose to the Power 5, but at the same time, you bounce back and you win 4 in a row. They're on a 4-game winning streak right now. One against Belmont, which is a pretty decent little baseball team. That one was actually a shootout, 15-7.
Yeah,
that's pretty wild. And then the next game followed up with 17-5. So Western has got the sticks this year. Just got to figure out that pitching rotation.
Oh yeah, the bats were cracking against Belmont and starting against Bowling Green, and then of course they played they won 5-4 and then 9-3. So during that series, and then of course we've got Eastern. We play Tuesday at 3 p.m.
At home at Dennis Field.
And then you got MTSU, and I think that's at home, isn't it?
Yep. So that series will be this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so a week from now, and all of those are at home.
And then we got Louisville at home. That comes up next Tuesday. That's awesome. So
that's a scary game, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. That could actually, of course,
very, very good team.
Oh yeah. Louisville is notoriously good at baseball. And of course, last year they had the big game between them and Kentucky, which, kind of enthralled Kentucky fans to start cheering for baseball. It's kind of one of those random things you really don't hear very often.
Well, Kentucky's baseball team has been on the resurgence. Like last year, they're good this year, and last year they were also very good. Took Louisville down to the wire.
Yeah, Coach Mingione is doing an awesome job at UK.
Don't you love that name, Mingione?
He's actually, I'm an avid KSR listener, and I like listening to Mingione because he is so upbeat and positive. But they've started a new thing. They started a new thing on the show, aggravating him because they thought for a while that he was going to go to Mississippi State, which would be a great move for him. But they didn't want to lose him, so they do a little segment every Monday called Motivation Monday, and he comes on and he has a little motivational thing, and so they started aggravating him about going to Mississippi State, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny, telling him to lose the guy's phone number, and he wouldn't look good in Bulldog Red, and good stuff like that, But back to our show. It looks like we got Louisville on the 20th, and I think the Top's got a pretty good chance. They showed Kentucky a pretty good ways. I know Louisville's notoriously good, but I think it may be close. Maybe wrong. But.
Well, yeah, and, they're playing at a quasi-home field. I don't know how much that really matters in baseball, but it is nice to be in your hometown, Bowling Green Ballpark, nice, good venue. Hopefully March 20th will be warm-ish.
Yeah.
Not, snowing like it is outside up here in E-Town.
Yes. Yeah, right now in the illustrious Rhineyville, we have a nice sleet mix right now. You may be able to hear it on the back window just pelting, and it's like, makes going to work tomorrow that much harder.
Absolutely. So, let's talk some NCAA bracket 2018. Have you had a chance to really look at it yet?
I have glanced through. I didn't really see the West and the Midwest, but the other, because they just came out a few minutes ago. And but are there any real surprises to you?
Well, there's quite a few. This year, I know we say it every year, the bubble was historically weak, blah, 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 blah. But a couple of interesting things. So MTSU gets the snub on the bubble, right, on the at-large. But I kind of saw that. A few of us saw that coming because the loss to Southern Miss was just not good enough. And if you look at their resume, their best win was like us and Murray State. Because of the way the RPI and away works. So not really a strong enough resume to get in. So that that was interesting, but not really much of a surprise. I will say that for folks around here, here's what you're going to see. You're going to see Kentucky complain about being in the same matchup area as Arizona as the 5 seed. You're going to see Louisville moaning because they got left out. But honestly, I think it's probably pretty good for Louisville because they need to get a coach.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to get a coach when you have a guy who's coaching an NCAA tournament currently. They are, probably going to be one of the top seeds in NIT because they will be hosting a game or two for the tournament. But the Louisville snub was interesting. I thought it was also interesting that they even mentioned that Notre Dame was close. So I don't know how much people listening know about the Notre Dame saga this year, but Bonzie Colson and Matt Farrell, two of their best players, were out for large portions of the season. Apparently, people, if you have injured players or ineligible players who don't participate for a lot of the season, they actually kind of put the kid gloves on and they look at your record kind of through, Notre Dame tinted glasses. They were some of the first 4 out, and that really surprised me because I honestly didn't think they deserved to be that close to the field. They didn't have a lot of big wins, even without their supposed superstars. They still got punked by Duke in the ACC tournament. Didn't have any good wins really throughout the year. Let me tell you about the biggest surprise, and this is the fun one. Little team called Texas Southern. Months ago, we were joking because I don't know if it was Western who played. Somebody played them. It wasn't Western men's. It might have been the women. I can't remember. But for some reason, we got on the topic of Texas Southern basketball and how they were 0-7. But they had played TCU, Gonzaga, Kansas State, Ohio State. They had played a really tough out-of-conference schedule. It's oh my gosh, what is this little team from Texas doing? And they're and we said, well, let's just, let's keep rooting for Texas Southern. Let's see where they end up at the end of the year. And son of a gun, they went 0-13. And they did not win their conference tournament, and they are now in the field of 64 teams. That is the most hilarious thing of this tournament for me.
Well, see, they've got to play North Carolina Central. Is that right?
For the play-in.
For the play-in, and honestly, they may get it. I don't know. They struggled, I think, in their conference from what I've seen. They were probably top of the field, but they weren't where we thought they would against playing the big teams like Oregon. I can't even remember all of them. Was it TCU? Ohio State.
They played Gonzaga.
Yeah. And no, we brought that up because it was on KSR. They talked about it, and it was one of those. I was like, what the? It was
little team from Texas playing all these big.
Yeah, but they've made the dance or almost made the dance. So it's one of those.
Man.
Yeah.
All I got to beat NC Central.
And honestly, talking about the bracket, I saw Duke, who they play first round, and I thought it was a misprint. Iona. Where is Iona? I've never even heard of that team.
I've heard of Iona, but I couldn't tell you where it is. Let's do a little Google. Let's see where Iona is.
I was going to say.
In New York.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's probably going to be a quick one.
New Rochelle, New York.
Okay. That's probably going to be a quick. I would say that'd be quick.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so who do you got coming out of the South?
So when you say coming out of the South, to the Final Four?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't think the South... Okay, so the South is top-heavy in the first couple rounds with Virginia, Kentucky, Arizona, Miami, Tennessee. I'm not a big believer in Cincinnati, even though they're the 2 seed in this. I honestly think... Kentucky's going to moan, but if they see them down in the Elite 8, I don't think they should have a problem. So honestly, at this, I have to say Virginia. I know that's chalky, the number 1 seed coming up to the Final Four, oh my gosh. But they've played well this year. Now they play slow and just gross basketball, but I don't think any team can do stuff, right? So let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Any team can beat any team on any given basis.
Exactly.
On any given night, it can happen. But as well as Virginia's been playing and the style of basketball they play, I don't see anyone here who they have a matchup problem against. I will say that Arizona is interesting because of how athletic they are. Every year they're athletic, but this year maybe not as much. But I will definitely say that you could see them taking on each other in like the Elite Eight. Well, let's see, where would they go? Virginia, round 2, Sweet 16. Okay, so they could see each other in the Sweet 16. I think that is a game to watch because if Arizona gets hot, they could definitely beat Virginia. I don't think anybody else. I mean, I know Kentucky's playing really well right now.
Yeah, but I don't think Kentucky's got the offensive power to overpower Virginia. That's my thing.
Yeah.
That's
the thing. It's like if they get matched up, I don't see Kentucky winning that game.
See, I mean, and that's from a Kentucky fan. I don't see that. They're young guys, and they're not to the caliber that I think that Kentucky fans would want them to be at right now. They're on a hot streak. I'll give them that, winning the SEC tournament. But I could easily see Virginia, Arizona coming out of the top part of the South, and I probably could see Tennessee and maybe Cincinnati coming out of the bottom half. I don't know.
Yeah, see, if I had to pick the bottom half of the South, like get into the Sweet 16, I always am huge fans of Miami basketball. They play exciting basketball. They always have good guard play. Apparently Loyola Chicago is like the sexy upset pick, and maybe I just don't know enough about them, but I don't see that happening. So if I had to do the top of the South, like Sweet 16 level, or like the Elite Eight, getting out of the bottom there to the Elite Eight, I'm probably leaning towards Tennessee or Miami.
Yeah.
So like the top half of the Sweet 16 there. I'm not a believer in Cincy yet. I know they have a really high seed and they have a really gaudy record, but until I see them spank some really good teams.
I'm like you. I feel like number 2 is kind of inflated for Cincinnati. And I know some people may complain about Tennessee getting the 3 and Kentucky getting the 5, even though Kentucky beat Tennessee in the tournament. But Tennessee's got the wins. They've got the wins where Kentucky doesn't.
They absolutely do, and let's be clear, they swept Kentucky this year. They're the regular season conference champions. They had an absolute fantastic year. If Tennessee doesn't deserve to be a 3, then Kentucky doesn't deserve to be a 5. You move them down to 4 and 6 at that. In my mind, at that point, Kentucky definitely does not deserve to be seated above Tennessee. And I'm sure Big Blue's all pissed off because they got to play Arizona in the second game. Went. Well, don't be a 5 seed then.
Yeah, and I may be wrong, but if they continue their hot streak like they can, they may take Arizona. It just depends on who shows up for Kentucky.
Well.
Yeah, it just depends on who shows up for Kentucky because Arizona, honestly, where we live, I don't see a lot of Arizona games. I'm sorry, but
I play at like 1 in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm not staying up that late. But Virginia, I don't see them having a lot know coming out of the upper part of the South, or the bracket there.
I really don't either. To be perfectly honest with you, I mean, they always laugh that Virginia's a choke school, so maybe, but I don't know.
God, I hope so. Okay, let's see. Do you want to go west or east?
Well, let's just go ahead and go west since we're on that side of the page.
Okay.
What do you think coming out of the west? We'll just go, let's say, who do you think's Elite Eight Final Four?
Okay, Elite Eight Final Four. That's a close one. I don't see Missouri doing a lot. I'm going to say Florida State will take that one. Xavier, obviously. I'm going to say Xavier's going to be probably Elite Eight. I hate to do number ones. I'm going to say Xavier, Gonzaga in the Sweet 16, and probably Xavier taking that. And then, let's see here. Oh, gosh. I hate Carolina. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, I do too.
It's probably going to be Carolina and Michigan. I watched Michigan play Michigan State the other night, and it was a pretty good game. It was a really good game to watch. So I could easily see probably Carolina, Xavier. I know it's another 1 and 2 there, but it's a 1 and 2. But that's my opinion. Xavier's been playing some good ball.
Me, I'm gonna disagree with you on the Missouri-Florida State solely because I think that Michael Porter Jr. coming back from Missouri, even though he wasn't good in the SEC tournament, he's got another week or two of practice another week of practice really before they hit the hardwood again. So I actually think it's going to be a Xavier-Missouri 1-8 matchup.
Oh wow!
Obviously,
okay.
I don't think Texas Southern's going to upset Xavier, but who knows? That would be the first 16 over 1 ever. That would be the coolest story.
Oh my gosh, that's the definition of Cinderella right there. I mean, that's
absolutely.
but I did not realize that he was coming back from Missouri. That changes my vote there. I knew he was injured, but I didn't know when he was coming back. I mean, obviously the dance is when he comes.
Why would you follow Missouri in the SEC tournament? Like, come on. He did come back from Missouri in the SEC tournament. He did not play very well. They ended up losing to Georgia before Georgia went and played Kentucky, which honestly was a break for Kentucky because it's in St. Louis. That would be, I mean, Big Blue travels really well, but you don't beat a Missouri team in Missouri. As far as fan support goes.
Yeah.
So, I think it'll honestly be Xavier, Missouri, with Xavier winning that. Ohio State's really good this year. They have had a very big turnaround. I think Ohio State takes the Zags. I think that I don't know anything about Houston and San Diego State, so let's go upset for that one. Definitely Michigan, Providence, and then North Carolina. I think Michigan plays harder than Carolina does, even though Carolina's got the star power.
Yeah.
So I honestly think we're going to go with – I had problems following this. So for my Elite Eight, I'm going to say it is Michigan over Carolina playing Xavier.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can pick up that.
With do I want Michigan? Come on. I don't know. Honestly, Xavier's good. Nice, fun little Cincinnati team, but I think Michigan can take them. So let's go Michigan beating Xavier to come out of the West for the Final Four.
That's wow. That's a big bold prediction there.
Virginia for me in the South, and a Michigan coming out of the West. That's
actually a pretty good prediction. I like that. Of course, and now Florida State getting beat by Louisville, who's not even in the tournament. That kind of makes a little noise there for the Missouri fans.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. Texas A&M, they were always pretty decent, but I don't think they could take Carolina. I'm probably going to agree with you because I think Michigan's going to have a pretty easy route to the Sweet 16, and that'll probably be where their actual competition comes in, is at the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the East here. Let's see what we got. Looks like Villanova. Alabama's not going to do anything. I'm sorry, guys.
Dude, I don't know. Collin Sexton's real freaking good, man.
I love Murray State's a 12 seed.
Yeah,
that is really nice for them.
And that's purely record.
Yeah.
Right? That's purely record. But and they're probably going to get beat by West Virginia. But West Virginia and Murray State, I'd love to see Murray State get that upset.
I would too, but I don't see it. I'm sorry.
No, Huggy Bear's probably going to eat them.
Yeah.
That would be. So on that one, I would think, okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you straight up, Villanova's coming out of that. I know it's another 1 seed, chalk.
Yeah.
But Villanova's really freaking good. And I know they had some weird losses to a Butler or a Providence or a Creighton or whatever, but that is a well-coached, Jay Wright coach team. And
you know what's funny? I hate to interrupt, but what's really funny is Butler is a 10 seed in that bracket, and I would pay money to see Butler beat Villanova in the Elite Eight. That would be hilarious.
That would be awesome. That absolutely would.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Butler survive through, the 7, the 2, the 3, the 6, if any of that came out, and then go beat the number 1 seed in Villanova. That would be sweet.
That would be so sweet.
I mean, they could do it. They beat Villanova in the regular season.
Yeah, they
why not the tournament?
Very well could. I'm gonna say, from my opinion, Villanova is probably going to be the top part of that bracket coming out of the Elite Eight, and I'm going to say Florida coming out of the bottom.
Okay.
Florida's played fairly well. They've been fairly strong with a lot of stuff that they've done. And I'm probably going to say Villanova's going to take it and probably be in the Final Four there. Not a lot of argument for me there.
For the Elite Eight matchup coming out of that bracket, I'm going to go with Texas Tech. I like the way Texas Tech plays basketball. That coach is a heck of a coach, winning. I want to say he won the Big 12 Coach of the Year. I can't remember, but yeah, Texas Tech plays incredible basketball. I think they take Florida just because they're an offensively minded team that I'm not sure Florida can take, though Florida has played pretty well this season. Arkansas and Butler is pretty interesting because Arkansas has kind of turned on in the second half of the season and had a really good home record. It will be interesting to see that game. I know a lot of people are probably going to call for Butler being the upset there, but I honestly think that when the betting lines come in and when the BPI and all that do their math, that Arkansas will actually come out as being that underdog. And I like Arkansas to beat Butler just because of how hot they've been recently.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think Purdue's vulnerable. Look, maybe it's just because Western beat them, but if Haas isn't having a good game and they don't come out and shoot the lights out from three, then even if they get past Arkansas, I don't see them getting past Tech or Florida. So for me, I think it comes down to in the East, Villanova and Tech. And even though I really like Texas Tech and I would love for them to make it out of the East, I honestly think Villanova, if they get that far, will beat the Red Raiders of Texas Tech.
Yeah, I agree. Moving to the Midwest, looks like we got Kansas and Penn. Let's see, NC State, Clemson, Auburn, Michigan State's in there. I'm not a big Duke fan, and I mean that's not speaking
I don't like
biased.
Duke, but I think they're going to do very well.
I just think that they're a hot rod team, and it's one of those that they can't outrun the others. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely understand that. And they've come up against a very good defensive team. It'll be an interesting matchup to say the least. Because again, like most Duke teams, they do have a lot of offensive firepower. I hate Grayson Allen with a
Oh,
furious
God, yes, I do, too.
and deep passion.
If he was anywhere else, he would have already been like suspended indefinitely. With his hip checks and his tripping, it's so annoying.
Did you see the one against Carolina the other day?
Yes, that was worse.
Golly.
So for me, I'm going to say probably Kansas coming out of the upper part of that bracket because honestly, they're the only team they're probably going to have trouble with. It's probably going to be Auburn. Auburn's playing fairly well, and they'll beat Auburn. Honestly, they probably got a pretty easy road to the Final Four there, and I don't think Duke's got the. I don't think they can outlast Michigan State, so I'm going to say it's Michigan State and Kansas, and I'm going to say Michigan State's going to come out of the bottom of the Midwest.
Yeah, so for me, I think Kansas is one of the more, besides Oklahoma making it in. God, what a disgrace. But that's what happens when you come out hot and you have a really, really fancy, exciting player. And you play in Power 5. Anyways, so yeah, Kansas I think is overinflated. I mean, I understand why they're the one seed. I do. Look, I think Kansas can get beat by NC State in the second round. Even if they don't, I don't have a lot of faith in Kansas. Though I do admit that out of the top half of that bracket, there's not. I mean, Auburn at the fourth. Look, Auburn just got the crap beat out of them by Alabama.
Yeah.
And I know they've been better with Bruce Pearl and his cheating butt. I love that he's like the only guy who gets a show cause order, and the school's like, meh, we know you cheat, but we don't care. That's fine. Just keep coaching. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know the NCAA told you that you're a cheater and you can't work anywhere else, but that's fine. We'll keep you employed. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Here's $4 million.
I mean, but really, who's in Kansas's top half of their bracket? Who is going to be a problem for them besides NC State and Auburn? I don't think Clemson is.
No, I don't know. Clemson at the 5. I mean, somebody's got to have a 5 seed, I guess. So there's Clemson. No, so here's what I'll say. I'll say Kansas beats Penn because I just don't think Penn's that good. I think NC State beats Seton Hall. And let's go with Kansas losing to NC State. Let's go with Auburn making it out of that one. NC State making it to the Elite Eight. Duke beating them in the Elite Eight. And you got Duke for me as a Final Four contender. Marvin Bagley is great. Trace Allen, I like him. It's great. So.
Yeah, I gotta wash my ears out now, dude. That's awful.
That's what I have. NC State in the Elite Eight, and Duke beating them to go to the Final Four. So my Final Four sits out of Virginia. Who did I say? Michigan in the West. So Virginia, Michigan, Villanova, and Duke. So let's see. I got a 1, a 3, a 1, and a 3.
Let's see, I've got...
Sorry, a 2, because I don't think Michigan State's getting... Oh, sorry, so I missed out on Michigan State. Duke's got to beat Michigan State. I think that's completely doable.
Yeah,
I'm not sold on Michigan State this year. I'm just not.
I'm not sold on Michigan State either, but I think Michigan State can play better defense than Duke can play offense. Does that make sense? And I think...
Yeah, I mean, that's what you hope, right?
Well,
if you want Duke to lose,
yes,
that's what you hope.
I mean, that's kind of elementary, but I think that Michigan State can play better offense than Duke can play defense as well. So That's kind of the double-sided
that's
coin.
True.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. Duke doesn't play a lot of defense.
No, they just have a lot of problems with defense, and when they lose, they're going to lose. You know, I mean, it's not a pretty loss. It's not not
they
close.
They typically have to shoot themselves out of situations.
Exactly. They can shoot themselves out of situations, but I feel like a lot more high pressure games kind of hurt them. I don't feel I'm not confident on Duke winning out of the Midwest, but I could be wrong. Coach K is a great coach, but
Ohio State coach, you see that the other day? Makes almost $10 million.
Yeah, good God, Coach K.
Yeah.
Spread the wealth,
It's like
brother.
saving money.
Yeah, spread the wealth, brother. That's all I got.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Sorry, I just got a thing on the score saying the committee gets it wrong with Oklahoma and Arizona State bids.
Yeah, probably. I don't care about Arizona State, but yeah, I don't think Oklahoma needs to be in the field. And if you pick overall resume, then I think Arizona State probably need to be in. If you do the what have you done for me lately like they used to do, then Arizona State definitely does not deserve to be in because they played like hot garbage recently. I think with them in Oklahoma, it really is a case of they came out hot, they were really exciting, and even though they tapered off and started sneaking it up the last third of the season, people don't care.
I'm kind of with you. I kind of feel the same way. It's more of a what have you done for me lately, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't think Arizona State's there.
And neither is Oklahoma. I'm sorry, Trae Young's really good, but anybody's really good when you put up 50 shots a game or however many he's shooting. Like, it's stupid.
Yeah. Who's your national champion? Where are you going?
Virginia's going to lose.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. So let's say Michigan on that side out of the Final Four. And, okay, so let's say for me, Michigan, Villanova, assuming Villanova gets there, and let's do a Villanova national championship because I just like the way they play basketball.
Yeah.
They're a good all-around team. I mean, they're probably going to get upset somewhere along the way. But if I had to say it, I'd say Villanova is a national champion.
I could see that. I would much rather have that than Duke.
Right.
I'd still say Virginia's going to lose. I don't think Virginia's going to be our national champion this year. I could see a Michigan. Definitely could see Michigan in it. I don't want to say it. Michigan and probably Duke. And I'm probably going to say Michigan just because I hate Duke. My hate for Duke is just
past Kansas in the so Duke makes it to the Final Four and beats Villanova.
No, I'm going to go with Villanova then.
Okay, yeah,
I'm going to change it just because I hate Coach K. If I had that Bruce
looking booger.
If I had that Bruce Almighty power, Duke would lose to Iona.
Dude, that'd be so good.
Oh my gosh, that'd be the greatest power ever.
To be fair, Duke has done that in fairly recent history. They lost to, God, who was it? It wasn't Iona. Lehigh. They lost to Lehigh and somebody else within the last couple of years.
I mean, but they've thrown up some losses this year that it was like, what? You know, I just very confused on some of their losses. Sorry, guys, I'm Googling, so you're going to hear a lot of clicking. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, that's what I was doing, too, because I was trying to figure out. So if you see here any random ads pop up, it'll be...
I'm good with the ads. It's all good. We need sponsors, so it's fine.
Yeah, so here it is. Here you go. Duke lost to Lehigh, so it was a 2 and a 15. And then in 14, they were the number 3 seed. They lost to Mercer in the first round.
Oh, wow.
That was fantastic. That was the year of Dunk City at Florida Gulf Coast. I remember that. It was a good year.
That's awesome. Any year that Duke loses is a great year for me. I'm sorry,
yes.
but got to have somebody to hate on. But yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, I think that's a good tournament. I think we're going to have some upsets along the way. I think there's going to be a few teams that we think should easily win that are going to get skunked and beaten. But it's all part of it. It's the love of March. We're going to try and get our brackets done, and we'll put them on Twitter or whatever so you all can see. We're probably going to do several.
As always.
Yeah, sadly.
You got to do your favorite color, the the wife pick, mascot fight, and crying while drinking and writing WKU in just all over the bracket.
Yeah, honestly, I was thinking earlier, right before we started the show, I was like, what scenario could Western just easily slide into the tournament? And it's like, you'd have to have like a We Are Marshall scenario so that the Conference USA runner-up would come in.
Yep, that's right.
We don't want anything to happen to Marshall. As big as
they've had enough terrible stuff happen to Marshall. I get reminded of that every time somebody makes a terrible, tasteless plane wreck joke. Because for those of you who don't know, Marshall had a terrible tragedy in the 70s. Fans, coaches, football team, there was a plane crash, and like everybody died. It was just it was a terrible accident. They still mourn it every year. I can't remember what they call it. It's Black something they call it. It sucks, and you don't make look. If Western had a plane crash full of people that died, I wouldn't want people to make fun of it, even if it was 40 years later. Sorry about it.
Okay. So side note on, and it is awful. Don't get me wrong, but we watched that movie, We Are Marshall, which a lot of our listeners have probably heard, and the next week when I was with Western, the next week we flew somewhere. Is that not like the worst movie to choose? Yeah, I'm like, that is awful. Why would y'all do that to us?
Poor buddy.
But, Marshall did good. Matthew McConaughey came onto their team and taught them how to play football again, so it was all fun. Everything worked out.
Yeah, so I hope it like that happens.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Especially not too Marshall, right?
See,
I have it once. Leave them alone.
See, I have a running joke with my wife. Whenever I see somebody that was on another TV show that we used to watch, I'm like, hey, didn't that guy used to be a detective? Hey, wasn't that guy a surgeon? And it's just a
now he's a plumber. Man,
yeah,
many talents.
Yeah, that's just witness protection, I guess. I do have homework for our listeners. I've informed Jake of our homework. The Push. Okay, it's a Netflix show, so those of you who have Netflix, please watch. This is a show similar to what ABC used to do on the, what was it called? What Would You Do? Have you ever seen that, Jake? Okay.
Yeah, I remember
Okay. This social experiment is based off of seeing how far somebody would go in complacency to commit murder. That's why it's called The Push. The individual has no idea what's going on in the situation. The entire setup is with actors, and they go the extra mile on all this. They got cameras everywhere, and it's supposed to be a fundraiser. And based off your choices throughout the night, they lead you up to the point of murder. And it's one of those things that, would you do it? The show starts out, not giving too much away, no spoilers. The show starts out with them calling and a guy saying, I am Detective So-and-so. The lady that just entered your restaurant with a baby stroller is a notorious child kidnapper, and we need you to steal the baby and get her out of the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not giving too much away, but the guy does it, and
it progresses from there.
Well, that's just the intro, trying to show you that if somebody just says, I'm Detective So-and-so, you're more likely to listen to them than if somebody just said, hey, I'm so-and-so, go get the baby. Does that make sense?
That's true. Positions of authority matter.
Yeah, and it's, even there's small factors that play into it, but hopefully next time I'll try and remember to talk about that, because it's really cool show. The other thing, you were talking about cheating, and it reminded me of another documentary that I talked to you about called Icarus.
Oh,
yeah. Icarus is based off the Russian doping scandal. And it was Russian state-sponsored doping. And the measures that the Olympic committees and the independent agencies go to make sure that athletes don't dope, and then the way Russians cheated to make sure that they got away with it. It was amazing, because you're just sitting there watching going, oh my gosh. For instance, the urine samples that they used, that they would send off, they had a cap that locked, okay? There's no way to get into this but breaking the cap. Well, the Russians figured out how to tamper with the bottles to get in. And then they could adjust the samples so that they passed. And it's like,
Gosh,
oh
man.
my gosh. And you just, one of
It's
those
just so
things.
weird that, like, it's a state-sponsored. I mean, it's not weird that it's Russia, but it's like it's a state-sponsored thing.
Yeah, well, the thing is, they lost, I think they had like the worst showing in one of the Olympics. And Putin and some of the leaders were like, never again. And they started the doping and they started the cover-ups. And it's...
And they got caught and mostly banned from this year.
They got mostly banned from Rio because it came out in 15.
Yeah.
Because they initially said nobody from Russia, and then they were like, okay, well we'll let a few, and I think basically like 75% of the athletes from Russia got to participate.
Really?
Yeah,
Because
there were
because
several.
those weren't the ones doping, or
Nope, just that's the ones the Olympic Committee said could play. Yeah, all of them did. I mean, even like Paralympics were caught cheating. So, no joke. That is not a joke. They asked them. They were like, "Well, how far does this range?" And there was a whistleblower from Russia who came over, and he's like, "Oh, it covers all athletes." And they're like, "Paralympics?" And he's like, "Yes." And I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
our wheelchair racers are so much faster than yours.
Well, I mean, and even it's mind-boggling. And the thing with the documentary is that the person. The director of the documentary is a cyclist, and so he starts out trying to recreate Lance Armstrong's findings or his results,
Oh, okay.
and it's really phenomenal. Just seeing how much he improves, and of course the race that he competes in is a international race, and they're like, if you take drugs, you'll get caught. Well, he took drugs and he didn't get caught. Really good documentaries.
How easy it was to get away with.
Exactly. Really good documentaries, both of those. We can talk more in depth maybe at some other point in the future when I remember them, because that's not likely to happen.
And R2 says he wants to watch them too.
Yeah, that was my wife. She said, "Hurry up, I'm hungry." So.
See, pro tip. Already, sometimes you got to take a pregame dump. We had pregame dinner.
There you go. Good job. My wife was actually working, so I got to play.
Oh, sad times.
Yes. So that's all I've got, buddy. If you've got anything else,
that's all. That's all I've got. We'll record fairly soon again when we get a minute. After we figure out where Western is in the NIT and where the games are going to be, and we'll have kind of a breakdown of that matchup and Western's challenge and path to winning an NIT. Happy side, I guess. And,
I mean, winning the NIT is like being the best loser. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it really is. It's first loser. But what are you going to do? It's a little bit of money for the university and extra practice for the young guys. So, with that being said, everybody have a good evening and go Tops.
Go Tops.